The silent entry. The stars burned cold and distant as the alien coalition prepared for their final strike against the last remaining human outpost. Their fleets covered half the sector, thousands of warships gleaming like silver knives in the dark, every commander confident that victory was already theirs. They believed humanity had vanished from the galaxy long ago, destroyed, forgotten, erased from the stars. In the command bridge of the alien flagship Velikar, Admiral Tora leaned back in his chair, his mandibles clicking in amusement. Reports of minor resistance had arrived, but he ignored them. His species had crushed countless worlds before, and to him, humans were nothing but a myth whispered to scare new recruits. Signal sweep completed, Admiral, one of his officers announced. No activity detected. Human signature remains extinct. The bridge filled with quiet laughter. Tora grinned and raised his claws. Then let this be the final page of their legend, he declared. But far beyond the war zone, deep within the void between systems, something ancient stirred. An old beacon that had slept for centuries suddenly blinked to life. Faint at first, then stronger, sending a pulse across the dark like the heartbeat of a forgotten god. Nearby sensor drones flickered and died, their signals replaced by a steady rhythm. Human signal detected. On a small recon vessel at the edge of the battle grid, Lieutenant Sarek frowned at his console. That can't be right, he muttered, recalibrating the scanners, but the data refused to change. The signal was real, human Old Earth code. The frequency of the Terran defense network, something that should not exist anymore. Admiral Tora, sir. I think you need to see this, he transmitted. The Admiral's screen flashed with the transmission. Static filled the air. Sarek's voice cracked through the noise. It's human, code verified, it's coming closer. And then the signal cut. The transmission died. The recon ship vanished from sensors. No explosion, no wreckage, just gone. Tora leaned forward, his amusement gone. Find that ship, he ordered. His officers scrambled to obey, but the room's atmosphere had already changed. Tension spread like frost. Then a faint vibration hummed through the ship's metal hull. The sound no one could identify, low and powerful, like something vast tearing through space itself. Contact at Vector 12, shouted the sensor officer. Multiple warp signatures, unknown origin, massive energy readings like fleet class. No, sir, beyond fleet class, and then space twisted. Stars bent and reality itself seemed to ripple. Out of the void emerged dark shapes, silent and immense, hulls black as obsidian, edges glowing faintly with blue plasma light. Their insignia faint but unmistakable, the mark of Earth. The bridge went silent. Every alien officer frozen as the first human ship appeared. It was not like the old human cruisers from legend. This was different. Larger, deadlier, alive. Its engines burned without sound. Its movements were too precise, too deliberate, as if it had been watching them for years, waiting for this moment. A young officer whispered, trembling, Sir, that's not a fleet. That's an armada, the Horizon Spear. Flagship of the Terran Vanguard fleet moved forward, its hull covered in scars from old wars, its weapons offline but glowing faintly. Behind it came hundreds more, forming a perfect wedge formation, silent, cold, unstoppable. The void echoed with their presence. No communication, no warning, no declaration of war, only the soundless hum of power. Open a channel, Admiral Tora ordered, his voice shaking. Channel open, his officer replied. This is Admiral Tora of the Galactic Coalition. Identify yourselves. No response, only static. He tried again, his voice louder, more desperate. We are not your enemies. We can negotiate, but before his words could finish, the static cleared and a single voice answered. Calm, deep, human. Negotiation was yesterday. The alien officers froze, the Admiral's face drained of color. Then the first flash came, a thin beam of light slicing through space faster than sensors could track. One of the Coalition cruisers simply disintegrated. No explosion, no debris, only vapor. Then another beam and another, until the void burned with lines of blue fire. Tora shouted orders. Shields up, return fire. But nothing worked. Their systems jammed, targeting arrays blinded. Communications flooded with one repeating message. War zone secured. Panic spread through the fleet, ships collided, commands overlapped. The humans didn't fire continuously. They struck with precision, erasing one ship at a time. Cold and surgical, each hit perfect, every move measured, from the bridge of the Horizon Spear. Commander Aaron Voss watched in silence, his eyes calm but distant. They mocked Earth, he whispered. They thought extinction was mercy. Then he raised his hand. Begin sweep. And so it began in less than 3 minutes. Half the alien fleet was gone. The survivors scattered, their systems failing, their morale shattered. The battlefield once filled with proud banners now burned with drifting wreckage. Admiral Tora stared at the view screen, tears of fury and disbelief filling his eyes. "Who are you?" he shouted into the void. "Why now?" The answer came, quiet but heavy. "Because we remember." The stars flickered as the human armada turned its guns toward the remaining ships, moving in eerie silence, no noise, no triumph, just duty. Their return was not for conquest, it was retribution. And as the last alien frigate tried to flee, the void swallowed its signal whole, leaving behind only silence. The war zone that once echoed with alien laughter was now empty, cold and still. And in that stillness, every world in the galaxy would soon learn the same truth. When the humans return, there's no time to scream, the enemy's fear. The battlefield drifted in quiet horror, smoke and debris floating like ghosts in the void. The alien coalition's mighty fleet, once the terror of the stars, was now nothing more than scattered fragments of metal and fear. The survivors tried to regroup, but their hands trembled. Their minds refused to understand what had just happened. They had faced thousands of wars before, but never an enemy that fought like this. Never an enemy that moved like shadows. Admiral Tora stood at the center of the bridge of the Velicar, his face pale, his voice hoarse as he barked desperate commands. "Form up defensive pattern Delta. Get the shields back online, anything." But his words echoed into chaos. Half his officers were gone, their consoles destroyed, power flickering, and behind the static of damaged speakers came whispers from the dying ships. "They're everywhere. They don't miss. They don't even talk." The coalition fleet's communication network was collapsing, jammed by an invisible pulse that carried no code, no pattern, only silence, the kind of silence that crawled under the skin. "Admiral, incoming formation detected," the sensor officer cried, his claws shaking. 300. No, 400 ships approaching fast. Tora spun around. "From where?" The officer stared at the screen, unable to breathe. "From inside our formation." A cold realization hit them all at once. The human ships had already surrounded them before the first battle even began. They hadn't entered the war zone. They had been waiting in it. Cloaked, silent, patient, and now they were closing in from every direction. Across the fleet, panic spread like wildfire. Commanders shouting over broken comms. Officers praying to gods who no longer listened. And through it all came a strange metallic hum that rose and fell like a heartbeat. The hum of human war machines locking onto their targets. The first to strike was the Horizon Spear, its main cannons glowing faint blue. But instead of firing explosive rounds, it released waves of kinetic energy that passed through enemy shields like they weren't even there. Each wave struck with precision, disabling engines, weapons, and communication arrays without a single wasted shot. The alien ships became blind, deaf, and helpless, floating in terror as their systems died one by one. Admiral Tora slammed his fists against the control panel. "Retaliate. Fire something, anything." "We can't, sir," his officer screamed. "Targeting is offline, power grid failing, we're losing core stability." "Then ram them if you must." But even that was impossible. The human ships moved too fast. Each time a coalition cruiser tried to engage, it found nothing but empty space and shadows where the target had been moments before. On the other side of the battlefield, aboard the Horizon Spear, Commander Aaron Voss watched the chaos unfold with cold precision. His officer spoke in calm, synchronized tones. "Enemy formation collapsing at Grid Sector 7. Confirming complete system lockout. No casualties reported." RN nodded once. "Good. Maintain pattern. Make them feel time." He didn't want their destruction to be fast. He wanted them to understand, to remember who they had mocked, who they had erased from their history. He looked at the holographic map where red dots blinked out one by one. "How long until the signal reaches the outer systems?" 5 minutes, sir," the officer replied. "They'll see everything." "Perfect," Aaron said quietly. "Let them watch." Back on the Velicar, Admiral Tora's sensors flickered to life again. But what they showed made his blood run cold. A massive projection filled the void ahead of them, an image of Earth's symbol, the blue circle and the white star, burning in pure light across the stars, and beneath it human text scrolled slowly, ancient and simple. "War zone secured, unauthorized forces will be erased." The alien crew stared in disbelief. Their admiral whispered, "That's impossible." "That symbol? It's been gone for centuries. Then another light appeared, this one smaller, moving fast straight toward them. "Incoming drone!" shouted an officer. "Shoot it down!" But their weapons didn't respond. The drone stopped just short of the bridge, scanning the ship with a pulsing blue light. And then it spoke, in human voice, calm and precise. Identification denied. Threat level, hostile. Response permanent before anyone could react. The drone exploded into a silent burst of light. Not fire, not shrapnel, just energy, and in that instant, the Velikar systems died completely. The ship went dark. The stars outside shimmered as invisible waves passed through its hull, dismantling its weapons, disabling its core but not destroying it. The humans wanted them alive, to witness. Across the remaining fleet, similar drones struck one by one, each ship rendered helpless, floating in eerie silence, their crews staring out into the void as human ships glided past like predators through deep water. Sleek, silent, and merciless. Commander Aaron Voss watched the readings. "Admiral Tora's ship is neutralized," his officer reported. "No casualties, they're disabled." "Good," Aaron replied. "Transmit the message." And then, across every alien comm channel, the same human voice echoed again. "This sector is now under Terran jurisdiction. Any resistance will be met with elimination. You are advised to surrender." Admiral Tora fell to his knees, the light from the dying consoles flickering across his face. He looked around at his broken crew. They don't want war," he whispered. "They want control." But deep inside, he knew the truth. This wasn't about control. It was about memory, punishment, balance. Outside, the human fleet moved in perfect silence, recovering their drones, recalibrating their formation. Their movements so synchronized it seemed they shared a single mind. And then, one by one, they turned away from the wreckage, disappearing back into the darkness of space as quickly as they had appeared, leaving behind nothing but silence and fear. In that silence, the alien fleet finally understood. They weren't fighting soldiers. They were facing ghosts of vengeance, and those ghosts had returned to remind the galaxy that humanity was never gone. They were only waiting for the right moment to strike. The human commander's wrath. The bridge of the horizon spear was dimly lit, the only light coming from the glowing blue holograms that floated above the command table. Commander Aaron Voss stood at the center, his posture straight, his expression unreadable, his eyes fixed on the fading red dots that marked the last alien ships being disabled. Around him, his crew worked in silent discipline, every movement efficient, no wasted words, no panic, only purpose. Outside the viewport, the void burned faintly with wreckage and drifting lights. Ships that once belonged to the proud Galactic coalition now floated powerless, stripped of all defenses. Every enemy commander who had laughed at the idea of humanity's return was now staring into the abyss of their own defeat. "Status report," Aaron said quietly, his voice calm but carrying weight. "Enemy fleet is 97% neutralized." "Sir," replied Lieutenant Kira, her hands dancing across the control interface. "No major damage to our units, drone recovery complete. All sectors secure," Aaron nodded slowly. "Good, maintain formation. Begin data extraction," Kira hesitated. "Commander, should we open communication with the survivors?" Aaron's eyes narrowed slightly. "No," he said, his tone firm. "They've spoken enough in the past for a moment." Silence filled the bridge, but beneath that calm, emotions stirred like deep currents, anger, grief, vengeance, all hidden behind disciplined faces. Humanity had not come back to conquer. They had come back to make the galaxy remember. Aaron walked toward the viewing glass, his reflection merging with the stars. 200 years, he said softly. 2 centuries since they burned our colonies. Since the Council declared Earth unfit for the stars. Since they wiped our name from history. He turned slightly, his voice low but cold. And now they see what silence creates, his second officer. Commander Derek Holt stepped forward. "Sir, what's the next move?" Aaron stared at the wreckage, his eyes burning faintly with the reflection of blue light. "We send the message," Derek frowned. "You mean to the Council?" "To everyone," Aaron said. "To every system that called us monsters. To every race that turned away when Earth screamed for help." He looked at the holographic map again, where hundreds of star systems glowed faintly red. They wanted a myth, we'll give them one. At his signal, the communications officer activated the transmission array. Thousands of drones across the battlefield relayed the same message, spreading through every channel. Every relay, every corner of known space. The words were simple, carved in white across black space. Humanity has returned. Warzone secured. Do not interfere. In distant worlds. The message was received with disbelief, then fear in the council chambers. Leaders watched the transmission in silence, recognizing the symbol of Earth, the same mark they had ordered erased from every archive. One by one, they realized the truth. Humanity had never died. They had evolved, hidden, rebuilt in the dark. Back on the horizon spear, Aaron turned away from the window, his face calm again. Any response? None, sir, Kira replied. The enemy fleets are retreating, though still alive. Good, Aaron said. Let them carry the fear. He walked to his command chair and sat down slowly, his hands clasped together, his mind filled with flashes of the past. Earth burning, colonies falling, the sound of desperate voices begging for aid that never came. He remembered his grandfather's words, spoken during the Exodus. We will return not as victims, but as storms. A faint beeping broke the silence. Commander, incoming signal encrypted. Human origin. Aaron's head snapped up. Source? Outer Rim Relay. Code signature matches Terran command. Put it through. A hologram flickered to life, displaying the stern face of Admiral Lyra Corrin, her uniform black with the Terran emblem gleaming at the chest. Commander Voss, mission status. Operation complete. Admiral, Aaron replied. The Coalition fleet is neutralized. Survivors scattered. Well done, she said, her tone cool but approving. The galaxy needed a reminder. Aaron nodded once. Permission to proceed with the secondary objective. Granted, Lyra said, her eyes narrowing. They will call us savages for what we do next, but let them. They forget we tried peace first. The hologram faded and Aaron exhaled slowly. Prepare the fleet, he said. Destination? Darek asked quietly. Aaron's gaze turned distant, his voice like steel. The Council's heart whirled across the fleet. Engines flared, power systems roared back to life. The Terran ships formed into perfect lines once more, each vessel locking into position with mechanical precision. As the warp drives charged, the void around them began to shimmer, reality bending at the edges. On the alien flagship Velikar, Admiral Tora watched in silence as the human armada turned toward the stars, his heart sinking. Where are they going? He asked softly. His wounded officer whispered, trembling. They're going to finish what we started. And then, the human fleet vanished, leaving behind only wreckage and silence. No explosions, no lingering threats, just the quiet promise of something far worse than war. Justice. As the last traces of blue light faded from the void, one truth settled across the galaxy. Humanity's wrath had awakened, and nothing, no council, no empire, no god, could stop what was coming next. The Galactic reaction. The message spread faster than light. Crossing jump relays, trade networks, and encrypted military lines, it echoed across the stars like a ghostly whisper that no one could silence. Every corner of the galaxy heard the same chilling broadcast. Humanity has returned. Warzone secured. Do not interfere. On the great capital world of Valerian Prime, the Galactic Council gathered in panic. The chamber that once hosted calm debates now trembled with fear. Holograms of dozens of alien leaders flickered in and out. Voices overlapped, arguments erupted, some shouted for peace. Others demanded immediate retaliation. Counselor Varek, a reptilian diplomat from the Kreth Dominion, slammed his claws on the table. This cannot be possible. Humanity was erased, their fleets destroyed. A calm voice from another hologram answered, then explained the footage. Counselor, it was an old avian representative, her feathers pale and trembling. That warzone was under coalition control, yet in 7 minutes it became silence. The Supreme Chancellor, a tall crystalline being whose body refracted light like glass, raised a trembling hand. We are not dealing with survivors, he said slowly. We are facing something else, something that remembers, another counselor hissed. Then we must prepare the armadas. They cannot be allowed to destabilize the balance again. Balance? The Chancellor whispered bitterly. Was it balance when we bombed their colonies? When we turned away their pleas for aid? Silence filled the hall. Shame and fear mixing like poison for centuries. The galaxy had built its peace on the ashes of humanity. They had rewritten history, calling humans unstable, dangerous, unfit for interstellar diplomacy. And now the ghosts of those lies had returned with ships made of vengeance. Across the galaxy, military stations scrambled. Entire fleets repositioned near homeworlds. Fortresses began construction overnight. Thousands of worlds entered a silent state of alert. And yet no human signal came. No attack followed, only quiet. In the darkness of deep space, humanity had vanished again, leaving the galaxy to tremble under its own imagination. On a remote mining colony, a group of alien workers huddled around a holoscreen replaying the footage. A massive human warship gliding through burning debris, its engines glowing like a dying star. They didn't even speak, one miner whispered. They just erased everything. Another shook his head. Maybe they'll stop now. But an old veteran sitting nearby muttered, "Humans don't stop, they finish." Meanwhile, aboard the Horizon Spear, Commander Aaron Voss stood in front of the star map, the blue glow of 1,000 stars reflecting in his eyes. Beside him stood Admiral Lyra Corrin's hologram, her expression hard. "The Council is panicking," she reported. "Half their sectors are mobilizing fleets. The other half are sending peace offers." Aaron smiled faintly. "Typical," he said quietly. "They think words can erase blood." Lyra's hologram flickered slightly. "Our analysts predict they'll form a defensive alliance soon. The same races that betrayed us will unite again out of fear. Let them," Aaron replied. "We're not here to rule them, Admiral. We're here to remind them." "Remind them of what?" she asked softly. "That the galaxy exists because we allowed it to," Aaron said, his voice calm but heavy. "And that mercy has limits." He turned toward his officers. "Deploy the Black Relay Network?" "Yes, sir," Kira responded, typing commands. "Shadow relays activating across 78 sectors." Aaron nodded. "Monitor Council transmissions. Intercept their fleets if they move toward Terran space." Then he looked at the hologram again. "Admiral, what are our orders after containment?" Lyra's gaze hardened. "Phase 2, she said. "They will speak to us, not as rulers, but as survivors." Aaron's jaw tightened. "Understood." Back on Valerian Prime, the Council's main screen flickered again, this time showing something new, a simple transmission from an unknown source. The hologram expanded into the image of a human face, sharp, calm, unblinking. "I am Commander Aaron Voss of the Terran Vanguard." His voice echoed across the chamber, cold and steady. 2 centuries ago, the galaxy turned its back on us. You called us extinct. You called us dangerous. He paused. "You were right about one thing. We are dangerous." Every counselor froze, the air heavy with dread. Aaron continued. "This is not a declaration of war. This is a statement of fact. Earth remembers. Our colonies remember. Our dead remember. We have no interest in conquest. But we will never forget who we are." Then his eyes darkened, his tone sharpening like steel. "To those who seek peace, stay silent. We will not harm you. But to those who prepare their fleets, to those who whisper of resistance, remember the war zone." The signal ended abruptly. The chamber remained frozen for long seconds until one young diplomat whispered the truth everyone feared. "They're not fighting for victory," she said. "They're fighting for memory." Across the galaxy, fear became law. Entire empires ordered their ships to retreat from Terran sectors. Traders whispered of human patrols appearing and disappearing in seconds. Colonies vanished from records, and in the dark corners of the stars, something shifted. The balance had changed forever, because humanity was no longer a myth. They were the storm the galaxy had tried to forget, and the storm had just begun to move. The unending silence. The stars above the war zone were quiet again, cold and endless. The light from distant suns glimmered faintly across the wreckage that drifted like ghosts through the void. Broken hulls, melted metal, shattered insignias of once proud alien empires floated aimlessly. No movement, no transmissions, only silence, the kind of silence that carried weight, history and warning far beyond the graveyard of ships. The Horizon Spear glided through darkness, her hull black against the stars, her engines dim to avoid detection. Inside, the atmosphere was calm, Steady hums of machinery and quiet footfalls of the crew echoed through the corridors. Everyone moved with purpose. No celebration, no pride, only resolve. Commander Aaron Voss stood at the central viewport, hands clasped behind his back, his reflection faint against the stars. "Status of the relay network?" he asked softly. Lieutenant Kira turned from her console. "All relays are active, sir. Transmission lines are stable across 78 sectors. No interference detected." "Good," Aaron replied, his tone even. "Keep them quiet. Let the galaxy think we vanished again." He walked closer to the glass, the light from the stars tracing across his face. "They will fear us more in silence than in war," he said. Behind him, Commander Derek Holt approached, carrying a datapad. "Reports from reconnaissance units, sir," he said. "Several alien systems have begun evacuating border colonies. The Council has ordered full isolation of Terran sectors." Aaron nodded slightly. "Fear makes them predictable," he murmured. "But it won't last. They'll start planning again. They always do." Derek hesitated. "And us, sir? What do we do now?" Aaron turned slowly, his eyes cold but alive. "We rebuild, not for conquest, but for remembrance." He gestured to the display where the symbol of Earth glowed faintly. "Our ancestors built civilizations that reached the edge of the galaxy, and the galaxy betrayed them. Now, we will build something that cannot be erased." A faint tremor ran through the ship as it passed through a dust field of old wreckage. Fragments of alien cruisers bounced harmlessly off its shields. Kira looked up from her console. "Commander, incoming signal from Deep Space Beacon 7 encrypted in old Terran dialect." Aaron's brow furrowed. "Put it through." The screen flickered to life, showing an old relay station floating in the emptiness, its signal weak but steady. Then a voice spoke, aged, calm, proud. "To all Terran vessels, this is Bastion Command. The new frontier station is operational. We await orders." Aaron's expression softened slightly, a rare spark of emotion crossing his face. "At last," he whispered. "The colonies are rising again." He straightened, his voice regaining its authority. "Transmit coordinates to the fleet. Set course for Bastion Command. We will not linger here." The engines roared quietly to life, blue light spreading along the hulls of the Terran ships as they turned in perfect formation. The fleet moved as one, silent and swift, vanishing into the deep black, their presence erasing itself like a shadow fading from light. On Valerian Prime, the Galactic Council watched in fearful silence as the last human signals disappeared from their scanners. "Are they gone?" whispered one counselor. "For now," another replied. "But their silence is worse than their war." The Supreme Chancellor bowed his head, the crystalline glow of his body dimming. "The galaxy was built on lies," he said quietly. "And now truth walks again among the stars." Across thousands of systems, the whispers began, stories spreading faster than any official transmission. Traders swore they saw human ships gliding through the edges of nebulae. Miners spoke of drones salvaging ancient ruins. Soldiers claimed that messages written in old Terran script appeared on derelict hulls. We remember. In dark taverns, the younger races who had never seen a human began to fear the shadows between stars. Parents told their children not to look too long into the night sky, for if they did, a human warship might be watching. Back on the Horizon Spear, Aaron Voss stood at the bridge as his ship entered hyperspace. The stars stretched into lines of light, and for a brief moment his reflection merged with the stars themselves. "For Earth, for memory," he whispered. Kira looked at him quietly. "Do you think they'll ever understand, sir?" Aaron's eyes stayed fixed on the glowing horizon. "No," he said softly. "But they'll never forget." The fleet vanished into the folds of space, leaving behind nothing but echoes of their passing. The galaxy held its breath, waiting, fearing, remembering. And somewhere, beyond the reach of any sensor or star map, humanity built again in silence, their ships growing larger, their technology deeper, their resolve sharper. Because vengeance had been fulfilled, but the legacy was not over. The galaxy would one day see them again, not as ghosts of wrath, but as guardians of the balance they had once destroyed. Until that day, the stars would whisper one truth across eternity. When the human fleet enters the war zone, there is no time to scream, only silence.